Steve here. Welcome to the Audiophiles, another edition of my Audiophile Roundtable Discussion. We've got Tim from University of Vinyl joining us with, of course, Norman, Mazzy, Maslov, and my wingman, Nathan Goss, was supposed to show up. He tried to get on, couldn't. I guess technical difficulties, so hopefully next week he'll be on. Please, guys, if you haven't, hit that subscription button. It helps me out a ton. Now, let's get to our audiophile roundtable discussion. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Steve from the Audiophiles. I have Norman, Mazzy, Maslov, and a new special guest today on the Audiophile Roundtable, Tim from University of Vinyl. How are you doing, Tim? Welcome.
Hey, great. Thank you, Steve. Longtime fan of your channel, and thanks for the invite.
And on my wingman, Nathan Goss, he's supposed to be on. I mean, we've been trying to get a hold of him here. Hopefully he jumps on during this, and we'll see him as well. I wanted to start off a couple weeks ago when I had Nathan, Danny, and Norman on. We were talking about Springsteen's Nebraska. This is the Vinyl Me Please pressing here. Love this album, and I wanted our viewers to comment on their favorite Springsteen song and why. So I've got the winner here. I'm just going to quickly read what Jeff K. Myers is our winner of the Nebraska album. What he said, he goes, "My favorite Springsteen song is Lost in the Flood, with the line, 'Well, that blazing noise boy, he's gunning that bitch loaded to blasting point,' as the song really kicks in. There's so much raw emotion in that song, and on the whole album for that matter, that it makes me cry every single time. By far my favorite Springsteen song and album, and the only one I listen to often. Happy New Year, guys." So Jeff, this is yours. Need your shipping address so we can get this out to you. So congratulations. Hope you enjoy it.
Interesting choice. The first album.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but a lot of people, it's funny. A lot of people like to write off that first album, but I think it's great because, and he sometimes does a little, not the songs, but because that was him doing his sort of Dylan thing initially, you know, in his way. But I love that record.
Well, I guess way back in the late 70s, John Lennon basically, I guess he was interviewed about Bruce Springsteen and even said like Bruce Springsteen will be the next up and coming big artist in the 80s, and sure enough he was right. So and Lennon really liked Springsteen's work from what I remember reading about that.
Cool.
Yeah. So Analogue Productions UHQR, I know Norman, you love the packaging. We don't have to get into that. Tim, do you have a lot of the UHQR stuff right now through Analogue Productions? Do you collect any of that?
I have I picked up Kind of Blue, was it last year or the year before? And I
The 33 or 45.
I got the first one. I think it was the 45 or 33, sorry.
33,
yeah. And then recently, I actually have that here. I picked up I went for Countdown to Ecstasy. Still kind of torn if I'm going to, I know I'm going to pick up Gaucho. I'm kind of in the minority here. I'm not a huge, Asia is not my favorite Steely Dan album. I love it, but this is one of my favorites, and this thing sounds amazing. So yeah, those are the only two UHQRs I have. I'm kind of in the Mazzy camp. I think this is kind of archaic as far as the packaging is concerned, and it's we were talking about my new shelving that I'm going to be installing, and I kind of overthought I'm going to have more shelving than my collection currently will hold. I've got room for growth, but
that'll last a week.
Very nice little cubby hole, display piece.
Right.
Anyway, yeah.
I do have 3 UHQRs. I have the Kind of Blue 33, which I love. I have the Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced? And I got the Bob Marley, and I love the Bob Marley. I have no problems with the record's music. Yeah, I'm not so hot on the Hendrix. I mean, in terms of, it sounds good, but it's not a great recorded record. But and in terms of Steely Dan, for me, I only pre-ordered Asia, and it's not even my favorite, but it's a little sentimental to me because I like the sound of it. And when I got a job at ABC, it had come out the year before I got, and we were still promoting it. I think Josie was a single I was promoting, and it was sort of the first record. That and the second, Tom Petty, are the first two records I ever promoted in a record company label. So I'm getting it for that reason, which is $150 for that reason, but whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And I always say, as a Canadian, I mean, buying one of these albums, like, I mean, you know, by the time you do the exchange for the Canadian dollar, the shipping, the taxes, the duty, this I think this was what, 125. This to my doorstep Canadian dollars is around $225.
Yeah.
So I have to be very selective with what I buy. I mean, I don't want to be buying everything. I want to have a marriage, right? So we don't want. There's only so many records I can buy in a year.
I will say
so,
that
yeah.
that is my favorite. As much as I love Kind of Blue is great. You can't say it's not. But for some reason, that is my favorite, the Marley, just because it's upbeat, it's a feel-good record. So you don't feel like, I spent $125, but I'm grooving, listening. It's just such good music. So I think it's unfortunate that they only could press that, what, 3,500?
3,500.
And I know
yeah.
there might be another one.
Let's talk about that. I know there's a lot of speculation about it. I mean, Chad was supposed to come up with a big announcement of sort of the next big announcement of an UHQR. I mean, if you read the initial press release that the Marley estate did, I mean, clearly they're going to be working with Analogue Productions, and I'm assuming they probably already have it. They probably already had a deal in place. It's not going to just be a one and done album or one and done pressing. We all know that they're out to make money as an estate, and of course Chad is as well. I'm going to guess, I mean, it's either one or two albums. It'd be pretty amazing if it was Exodus, because that's my favorite Bob Marley album, or even maybe, I mean, with the greatest hits, would that be cool enough for an UHQ, or that'd be a little weird? Probably weird.
You know, the live album would be better than the greatest hits.
It would be, yeah.
But you know, Catch a Fire would be great. Unfortunately, a part of the love of that is the aesthetic of the matchbook cover. And no way, I can't imagine a box version of the matchbook cover. But hey, who knows?
Yeah,
it would be like me buying another Uber box by George Harrison. So.
Right.
I still that's one of my favorite videos of you doing that, trying to haul in the George Harrison Uber box. That was amazing.
You know, you have to, it's a comical thing, and people say, "Oh, you hate boxes, but you wasted your money on this big Uber box." Well, there's multi albums and CDs and gnomes, and a lot of stuff is in it, not one record. So, and it is it's totally over the top, and like, what the F were they thinking of? But you know, I'm a Beatle collector, so that's what that's about.
And that's the thing. I mean, these, you know, it gets to a point as an enthusiast, as a collector. I mean, you buy these albums, like, how many times am I going to listen to this in a year? You know, I mean, and then I start buying other albums. This is the thing. Like, I think we talked about it not long ago, Norman, about, you know, how you're going to probably buy Asia, the UHQR Asia, play it once, and it'll go on your shelf, and that will be it. I mean, I remember you mentioned that. So, I mean, I want to play these records more, and I think we were talking about the whole COVID thing, the last 2 years of being locked down, and I do feel, you know, I think things are going to slow down in the vinyl industry a little bit. I think obviously the sales will be strong, but I don't think people have the time now. We're not at home as much now. There's other things to spend your money on. So I really think, depending on the release, like I know MOFI has a bunch of one steps coming out this year. I don't know if those will ever sell out. We talked about that because the excitement's not there. I don't feel the excitement of these. I
think the MOFI thing was a misstep. Forget the digital stuff. I'm not talking about, but the thing that you're going to announce, you're going to put out, what is it? Almost every Van Halen and almost every Joni Mitchell. I mean, really? I mean, I love Joni Mitchell. I have all her records. And the non-UHQR box I heard is even better than the original. I have originals, so I didn't get it. But I can see, to me, those should be special things. And I think they're just leveling off. But I listen to a lot of music all the time. My kids growing up and out of the house. I don't have like a lot of stuff like you guys. I'm self-employed, working at home. So people say, why do you need all those records? When can you play them? It's my library. I grab a record, I put it on whenever I want. I don't stream. So for me, that works for now. We'll see how long that lasts.
So the one thing, you know, as far as the whole COVID thing, and everybody had all this time on their hands, I was doing a ton of listening, and, you know, things have picked up as far as its general life, and I'm a little bit busier, and I'm hoping with this new situation, this new listening room, I've doubled the size of my listening room. But that's the one drawback. I've got like albums from last year that haven't been opened yet.
Ooh.
You know, they're
Yeah.
just, but it's an addiction. And yeah, I mean, I'm always going to have this stuff to pull, but I'm hoping to get more listening time in the coming year. That's one goal I've got for myself.
And that's the thing. It gets to a point where, okay, I mean, you see the latest release. Oh, I got to get it. I got to get this one. I got to get this one. I'm ordering this. You go to the local
Right.
record store. You're pulling 15 records out of the bins. You bring them home, and they just sit on the floor or whatever whatever you might do. And then maybe 6 months later, you listen to one of them. I think sometimes, and it goes back to that FOMO thing as well. And I did a video on that. It's like we're just missing. Maybe we're missing out on some of the stuff. Oh my God, I got to get it. And that's the way I felt for the last 2 years during the COVID thing, where especially some of these audiophile releases, like, oh my gosh, I have to get this. Oh my gosh, I have to get this. So I mean, I'm not doing that any longer. Here's Nathan. So we're gonna get Nathan on right now too. So he's jumping on.
I've made it a policy for me in my record buying and my collection. As soon as I get a record within 24 hours, more or less, I open it. I don't want to put something down, and that's just my own thing because I know, it sits there for a while, then you don't do it. But I open it. And I have these 3 flip bins upstairs, which have in heavy rotation new releases, and I don't let anything come downstairs here. My main system's upstairs, only a few steps. It's not like a big long thing. So my main system is upstairs. Those 3 bins are upstairs, and nothing gets filed downstairs until I'm listening to it several times. So I listen to a lot of stuff. So that works for me because I just can't. I can't imagine. Well, there's maybe like a couple of exceptions with that, but I open everything right away. First of all, I want to make sure there's nothing screwy about the record because you only have so long to return it if there's an issue.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, but so I open everything right away.
It's a good policy.
Yeah,
I got Nathan. I got Nathan trying to join us here. You can probably see that, but I don't know. Nathan, are you there? He's having trouble with his audio, so I'm not sure what's happening there. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think, Tim, that's what I want to be doing this year is focusing more on listening and maybe not buying as much.
Right.
Maybe that's what I need to start doing. I remember my dad years ago would say, they make more of this stuff every day, Steve. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to run out and get the latest and greatest, which is really a good point. I mean, this industry
with all these discussions, whether it's here or on the various forums about FOMO and MOFI, and there's all these people doing these statistics with this possible settlement, whatever happens, that sales are down. I mean, sales. Remember, before all the COVID in the last few years, the Elvis Costello records, all these MoFi things, they were available for 5 or more years.
Right.
They never, very few titles, and they were pressing less than sold out right away. Even the Miles Davis stuff, the Dylan stuff. So I think it's good. It's just we're a normal thing, and now people are thinking, if it doesn't sell out in a week or two, even when they were not dumping, but mentioning, Chad's, what was it? One of the last UHQR. It took for a while, didn't sell out in 2 days. Well, thank goodness you have the time to breathe. I think.
Did the Miles Davis cooking the craft thing? Did that ever sell out?
No, I don't know. Probably, but maybe they pressed too many. But I like that it didn't sell. The problem with that is, I don't know if that title, but Chad's doing all those $40 Prestige and Riverside records, and that to me is the sweet spot. $40 for an all analog, a nice cover.
Beautiful,
As much as you don't.
I feel a lot better pulling the trigger on that than the $150 thing.
Here's value right here. This was pressed at QRP from Chad Craft Recordings, and this was
that's a great record.
All analog from the original tapes from Bernie Grundman. And this is a great sounding record. I put it on 2 nights ago, and it blew me away.
Yeah.
Nice,
very, very dynamic,
all that
very
West
wide
Coast
sound
Riverside
stage.
Stuff.
Wow,
the West Coast cool jazz, that Riverside period is really nice stuff. All down the Lighthouse and all that. So,
So I think you're right. The sweet spot going forward might be the $30 to $40 sort of high quality audiophile type of pressing, AAA cut type of thing. I think, going back to what I'm saying, this is great value for a AAA. Great packaging, It usually comes with a rice paper sleeve here, which I love. So yeah, I mean, it's got
And do you
everything I can
guys
ask
see
for.
any real benefit? And maybe again, I always you haven't been here with us, Tim, before, but I always kind of mention I'm kind of the outcast of the audiophile guy. I dip my toes in. I like great sound, but that's not the primary. But this SRX or the Clarity vinyl, I'm not sold on all that all the time. And for that price and for that up thing, I don't need it. Now I did get the Desire MoFi Clarity. That sounds fantastic. Did it need to be Clarity? I don't personally think so.
Super vinyl on the MoFi.
Yeah,
Clarity,
exactly. Whatever they call
UHQR,
it.
I've got ticks and pops on that Miles Davis UHQR, and I remember it was all over the Hoppin forums, and I'm not, a couple
static.
pops is fine. I can live with it, but a lot of people were really upset with it. But yeah, I tell you what, I mean, the two most recent Steely Dan reissues that Chad put out, the double 45 at $60. The most current, the last two albums they did, man. I mean, those are perfect. Standard black vinyl, and that's one of the problems. Is like, man, am I really going to be able to wait a year or 2 years that supposedly he's going to put those out? But I don't know.
I mean, the Doors, the Leonard Skinner, all those double 45s, black vinyl, what, $60, $50, whatever they were. I mean, that's reasonable to someone who buys a $20 record. It's not reasonable, but for the audiophile thing, I totally get that.
I am lusting. I'm lusting after that Bob Dylan super vinyl Desire. I would like to get my hands on that, but I haven't looked at Discogs lately on that thing. But I know I'm
a huge fan of that record. And I have an original when it came out. And I always thought the original sounded so muddy. In fact, that record didn't sound really good until the CDs came out, until the SA CDs. Oh my God! Finally, there's something wrong with that first edition, personally. And so the Clarity. I mean the Desire, the MoFi.
The Desire was neat, Tim, because that came out. It was like it completely caught everyone off guard. I was on the MoFi email list. This is like October of 2021, I think, or 20. I can't remember.
1,000 copies.
1,000 copies, super vinyl. Just sort of.
I tried to buy it. I wasn't fast enough. Yeah, I tried to buy that. Yeah.
So I mean, that sounds great. I mean, I really enjoy my copy. So speaking of that, here's another thing that just happened. So ERC just released on their website the Doors debut album from the Lido tape, master from the Lido tape using a fancy tube system. I think they pressing 450 albums, I want to say. I didn't look at the actual release, but anyways.
Well, that's a dollar price too.
Is that what is that $300 or I don't know.
I think it's like $450.
Or so a limited amount, 400 pressed or whatever it is. You're
not going to beat the Analog Production. Those run of Doors reissues that Chad did.
And the first album has recording issues anyway. So I'm surprised, but
So here's the thing. So it 9 o'clock in the morning is when it opened up for people to order on their website. And I was looking on a Facebook post this morning, 9:02 sold out. So 2 minutes it took.
Wow.
So here's my question. It's the mono version. Is it that much better than, let's say, Bernie Grundman, who just a couple years ago pressed the Vinyl Me Please mono pressing that Bruce Botnick actually supervised?
I like that album in stereo better personally.
Okay,
do I have a mono reissue? I can't remember if I do. I have original mono. I have a mono I got from Coleman Collection, and it was noisy as hell. And I will say, 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, I ran it through the Humming Guru.
There we go.
With Turgiclean.
You use chemical?
Oh my God.
And I did a wash, and it improved it. It's not perfect because it's an old record, but it did help. It did help. So, the other thing I want to mention, did you finish the Doors part, or you were still on?
One other thing too, I was just mentioning, like some of the original Doors albums, I believe from Bernie Grundman actually was originally master and engineer in some of those original recordings years and years ago. It's one of his first probably ventures he got into. So I thought that I remember watching a video of his, and he mentioned that on his video that he's was one of the engineers on the first Doors albums. I thought that was pretty cool.
I do want to mention something else, just since we're to audiophile, my audiophile, and I was hoping it would arrive before this taping so I could look at it, show it, and listen to it. Is I ordered, and it's on the way, the Kevin Gray's Coherent New Jazz record. And I ordered it from the In-Groove. The only place I saw that's had it that I know. I mean, I'm sure from the other places. It's on the way, didn't arrive yet, and that's the first of his all tube system personal label. And I don't usually go. I'm a little hesitant because I didn't hear the music. And for me, everyone I remember a couple years ago was telling me, "Oh, you got to get this Impex Three Blind Mice Japanese jazz, one of the best sounding jazz records, yada yada." And everyone told me to get it. I bought it. And to me, my criticism was it sounded friggin' amazing, but it sounded like a really good hotel Hilton airport jazz band musically. And I don't think this is going to be like. I'm just hoping it's not, because just because something sounds good, if I don't really dive into the music. But I'm so excited to hear what on Kevin's new recording system, his new living room
I'm not
thing.
familiar.
So
Is she like a contemporary modern jazz artist? I'm not familiar with her, but I've been watching the kind of story.
She's not doing modern jazz-ish. I think she's doing, classic type of stuff, but apparently she's amazing. Half, I think, are original, or some of the songs are pieces are original. But I trust him, and I bought it for that. And what's $40? I thought is a reasonable price.
So I get mine next week as well. And next Friday, we're going to have Kevin Gray on to talk all about his new album. Awesome. And he actually texted me the other day because he knew it was going to be on this, and he wants our viewers to start asking some questions now as to, about this album, about his equipment, that type of thing. So if you guys are wanting to, you can make some comments below for next week's show that I can read off to Kevin. It's going to be really fun.
Cool.
So yeah, I get mine next week. Kevin was grateful enough to send me a copy. So I got a free copy, which is really nice of him. So I'm really excited about it. Yeah. Yeah.
I bought it. I'm supporting the independent label.
There you go.
And so independent retailers, not in my state.
So I think you sold it. So In-Groove, and I think Analog, Acoustic Sounds probably was selling it on their website as well.
Do we know, right? Or will he answer? I'm curious about press run, what the press run is on it. Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know. I actually never asked him that.
I'm thinking like 2,500 to 3,000 maybe. I don't, but who knows? Maybe it's 5,000.
There's a question I'll ask him if he's able to answer.
He's a pretty open guy. I don't think he's hold back on that, but we'll see.
Okay. We'll ask that next week as well. Okay, Norman, 2022, the year went by quick. I want to see some of your favorite or best sounding pressings of last year.
I'm showing 4 records here, and they're all.
I hope you don't have duplicates. We'll see.
Well, it's okay.
I like that. I think that's really cool if we do.
They're all new releases from last year. One of which it came out last year streaming and CD, and I only got it last week because I didn't want to even listen to it until I had it on vinyl.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, of course you are. I'm not going to do that first, but the first one was my #1 record and my new release record. And is it an audiophile masterpiece? No, but it sounds friggin' great. And this is Orville Peck. And Orville Peck, if those of you who don't know and haven't watched me, this is a combination of 1970s Elvis Presley, Roy Orbison, Chris Isaak, heroic, like somewhat of a Springsteen production, Phil Spector, cowboy music. And it's rocking, but cowboy. The catchiest hook you'll ever hear. He's this sort of the unknown cowboy. He wears this literally leather mask, and he's this gay cowboy. I saw it in store at Easy Street Records. He did when his first album on Sub Pop came out. This is his debut on Columbia. By far, this was my favorite. It's got hooks galore, double record. Look at this, over the top record, but just he's got this deep, heroic, almost like pushing cowboy. He sounds like a cowboy Western TV star from the golden era of the 40s and 50s of the cowboy movie stars like Gene Autry and stuff. But huge productions and really catchy hooks. Love this record. Orville Peck. It's called Bronco. His first album was on Sub Pop, was called Pony. So you see where this is going in a way.
That's now I have to buy that. See, this is what I mean. This is,
Well,
I get caught up in all this. I want to get it.
Listen to it and see if you like. But on vinyl, I think it sounds
I'm being
great.
talked into it.
Yeah, it's not an audiophile math, but it sounds really, really good, and it's a good crankable record. From
Tim, what did you bring?
Well, I've been dipping my toe into jazz for the last 2 years, and of course, I'll pick up the odd Tone Poet or the classic series. And I went off on a tangent, started collecting the early 70s CTI jazz stuff. I like the kind of jazz funk, jazz soul stuff. And this Ronnie Foster album is freaking amazing. It came out late summer, I think. It's one of the Blue Note classic series. Very, very funky, fun record, amazing organ player. It makes me want to kind of dip into his back catalog a little bit, do some exploring. Kevin Gray, again, here we go. Sounds absolutely amazing. Not quite the same packaging as the Tone Poets as far as the jackets are concerned, but I'll admit this. I checked. I've got a local guy here in town who just opened a really nice shop, and he's been carrying a lot of Tone Poets and this stuff, and he didn't have this. And just for the hell of it, I was like, well, is it on Amazon? It was $17.
Oh wow.
And I ordered it in the morning, and it came, in the afternoon. Yeah. So I don't do that all the time. I support my local shops, but I mean, hard to beat. It sounds freaking amazing. A real fun record.
Do you
used to have house parties? Remember those days? This is something that could be on the back.
It's a funky jazz record, soulful jazz. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Nice.
Good.
So we're talking Kevin Gray's on next week. This came out sort of the latter part of 2022. John Coltrane, my favorite things. Now, this was actually released. You got both the mono and the stereo cut of this album. And normally, when I talk to Kevin Gray about this, he's more of a stereo guy than a mono guy, but he definitely likes the mono cut better, just sounding more authentic, a little bit deeper. And this is a AAA cut as well. 100% AAA mastered by Kevin Gray. So if your guys are getting into jazz, some of my viewers, or you're looking for a really great sounding record, you'll definitely recognize some of the tracks once you drop the needle on this one as well. So check this one out, John Coltrane, My Favorite Things. Do you guys have, Norman, you have this one, don't you?
I don't have that version of it, but I have
you have
several versions of that. So
yeah.
I'm really trying to get away from the multi-copy thing in the last couple of years. I do it occasionally, but as much as I listen to that record, it's a great record. I probably have 2 copies, a 70s press and the box set, mono box set.
Well, I went and when Blue Train got re-released, Kevin Gray cut that one just last fall, and they had the mono and the stereo. And so I bought both, and it was separate. It wasn't they didn't package them together. So I had to get the mono separate from the stereo. And so I mean, one of those things. I do like mono.
The stereo had the extra disc, right?
I always forget.
Yeah.
I always
got
forget
the mono
because I have the mono box set that Atlantic put out, which is really good. I don't think it's all analog, but it's still really good. And there's 2 albums missing, or 2 or 3, because some of them got burned in the fire in mono, so they're not available. So I always forget which 2. So someone in the audience is going to know and comment it, in the viewer. So, okay, this is a record I got at around the same time that Stunt Rock Confusion showed at one of his streams, one of his favorite albums. And I just love this. This is a fun record. And this is Bitchin' Bajas. The Bitchin' Bajas, it's a side project from this guy. His name is Cooper Crane. He's in a band called Cave, who I don't really know much about, but they've been around for about 12, 13 years doing these side instrumental electric projects. And this came out originally, I think it came out December of 2021, only streaming. And then, of course, because of the backup, it finally came out in 2022. And it's on Drag City Record. It's got this almost like silkscreen friggin' cover. It's so beautiful. I mean, it looks like it was handmade, like the ERC is, only not for $450. This is like $25 or whatever. And what this is, they do electronic. They play like most synthesized electronic instruments, and they're playing vintage electronic instruments covering Sun Ra's music. But it's Sun Ra, you got to be careful sometimes with Sun Ra. It's very accessible. It's kind of like influenced by like a switched on Bach. It's called switched on Ra. So Wendy Carlos's stuff like that reminds me of Jean-Michel Jarre, Oxygen, very electronic, moody, but very relaxing, actually, not in your face Sun Ra compositions. Some kind of the vocal things like Wendy Carlos, Walter Carlos, whatever did with the Clockwork Orange soundtrack, that kind of instrumental, but really, really a great record. Sounds good. You know, obviously it's digital, but it sounds really good. And it's a cool record. It's just a beautiful cover.
I just saw, I think the Rev, I think he featured,
Yep.
I think he featured that yesterday or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got another one. Now this I thought was one of the more interesting archival releases last year. It is definitely not an audiophile record. I know Mazzy, I think you've got this, but this is the music, Lou Reed. And basically what happened, 2 years before they founded the Velvet Underground, he actually went into a studio and cut, some of the most famous songs that would appear on the first album, with John Cale was singing backup vocals with him. And he cut it, and then he put it into a self-addressed stamped envelope, mailed it like a mile from his parents' house to himself, which was a cheap way of getting trademark, or what's the word I'm looking for?
They call it a poor man's copyright.
Poor man's
You mail something to yourself, you keep it sealed.
And it's from Light in the Attic Records. They do some really cool stuff. I have the lower value one. They did an even really, this is some Japanese artist who did this artwork, and I think the higher dollar one has got real die cut. But also, I mean, you get a really interesting, and the story is Laurie Anderson and people that were working on Lou's estate were going through his office, and just they opened up a vault and thought that there would be some interest. The vault was empty, but lo and behold, they looked behind him on the shelf, and here was like they've got pictures of the tape in here. Here's photos of the self-addressed stamped tape. A tape from 1965. They did some restoration work on it, spooled it up, and the thing sounds, it's ethereal, and it's kind of, you can definitely tell that Lou Reed was listening to the first two Bob Dylan albums. It's very, very, very folky, but he's got I'm Waiting for the Man and Heroin on here and other stuff. Really, really interesting stuff.
It's like a home recording in a way, like Nebraska.
Like Nebraska,
obviously, it doesn't sound as good because Bruce used a better home recording. It was reel to reel, a 5-inch reel to reel, and it's not a fabulous selling record, but it's an archival release, and it is really intimate, and it's really kind of cool hearing those two.
This was pressed at RTI, I will say that, and it's not like a real scratchy old time sounding record. It's really an interesting artifact, and if you are a Lou Reed fan or a Velvet Underground fan, it's I'm sure you can, it's still available. So anyway, I liked it.
Oh, very nice. I love Lou Reed. I've got the Speaker's Corner version. I would really love.
Oh yeah,
just fantastic.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, David Crosby. This is the 45 RPM super vinyl MOFI, limited to 4,000. And this is one of, during the whole DSD gate, this is actually a AAA all analog pressing.
Nice.
It's a great record.
Great.
Yeah,
I mean, great.
I keep hearing it sounds amazing.
This one sounds amazing. Again, I haven't checked on Discogs to see the cost of this one, but it's got an nice gatefold as well, and it's got everyone that was participated in the album, as you can see.
It was recorded at Wally Hyder's in San Francisco with all those like members of the Airplane and the Dead and Nicky Hopkins.
Gray Slick is on there, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And I have my original copy, and I played it like the day after, or the day Crosby died, and my original sounded great still after 51 years.
Jerry Garcia's on this album as well.
Yeah, Yorman, Jack, and yeah.
And I the other day I just watched the latest documentary that Cameron Crowe put out a few years ago of David Crosby. It's fascinating. It's so fascinating. I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago it was put out. But I mean, even back, it's on. I think it's an HBO documentary, whatever it is. You'll find it streaming somewhere. I was fascinated by it. What a personality! He brought the cameras back to the very first house that Crosby's, I guess CSN actually started recording and writing songs, and Joni Mitchell was in that house. So some really cool stories around that as well. And the camera follows them to
it's like 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
It's a couple of years ago.
Saw it in the theater. That's a really good,
it's really good. I recommend everyone. And it's, I think it's called David Crosby, I Can Remember My Name. So it's just it's a take on that, right? I can't.
He burned so many bridges, man. The birds kicked him out, and
he was very opinionated, and he admits that. He says now he looks back and regrets a lot of it. And he never liked Jim Morrison, by the way. He called him a little twerp or something like that, or I can't remember what he said. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah. It was nice. It was nice. Graham Nash and Neil Young came out with these long, heartfelt statements, and you just wonder, in the last year or two, if behind the scenes, if those guys had kind of talked.
Right.
But who knows?
Because during the film of that movie, at that point, he hadn't spoken like Graham Nash, and he hadn't spoken with Graham Nash. He hadn't spoken with Neil Young for a long, long time, and so who knows if it happened? I hope it did for everyone's sake, but. I mean, 81 years old. What a career David Crosby had. I mean, incredible career.
As you guys probably know, Byrds are one of my top 3 favorite bands of all time. And so I took a drive to Portland this week, and I just played the 66, 7, and 8 Byrds records, just on random, those 3, and that's from the Legacy CDs with outtakes and demos and singles, and it was so good, so good.
One more for you, Norman.
Oh, this is my last one. Okay. The one I was mentioning is Cruel Country by Wilco. And I'm a big Wilco fan. I'm not a super freaked out over the top Wilco fan, which I admire that, but I really respect them a lot. Jeff Tweedy and company, and Nils Clive, what is it?
Klein,
Nils Klein, sorry.
Yeah.
But I tell you, now I resisted because I really wanted to hear this. I kept hearing good things. It came out streaming literally 7-8 months ago. And it's amazing they released it, and the vinyl just came out last week, I think. Double record. It sounds really good. The first LP is, it's just very good. It's a good feel, good songwriting, beautiful package. I wonder if they did this probably digital, unless they had someone knit this like little, you could see what that is about, Cruel Country. And it's a lovely package. I mean, I know this is about the music, stupid, right? Not the package. However, I love this little extra thing they have. They have all the lyrics on these postcards that you can literally pull apart.
Oh, that's really cool.
Vintage postcards. So anyway, this would have made my top list if I had got it last year. I'm calling it a 2022 release, which it is. If I would to redo it, I would add it to it. It's so fantastic. It's got a really organic sound to it, and some interesting instrumentation too. Good songwriting.
So Tim, did you pick the same one, or is that you just had it happen to have it right?
I've got another one that I'll talk about, but yeah, I just picked this up last week, and I had kind of avoided. I have now streamed some of the songs from the album, but I wanted to wait for the vinyl to come out, the vinyl
Me too.
Release, and haven't opened it yet, but it looks amazing. But I was going to say that's one of the things I'm looking forward to for 2023, even though, yeah, it was a 2022 release, but back to 2022 and back to Kevin Gray. Funny that we didn't know that that Steve is interviewing Kevin Gray next week, but I mean, come on, this release, what's going on? And this is a US version, by the way. So it was a Kevin Gray mastered. But this is a classic. I have picked up an original, and it's noisy as hell. And you know, I'm trying to avoid picking up multiple copies of albums. And first of all, you don't see this out in the wild very often. So it was kind of a welcome thing when, you know, we found out we were getting this, and it lives up to all
it's great.
All notions. It's really nice to have it.
So late, was it November, we had the Revolver box come out, and I have it behind me here somewhere. Where is it? Right here. You've heard of the Beatles before, Norman?
Apparently.
Yeah, so
I think they're quite good.
They're not bad. There's
I have the master tapes here.
Good little band here, the Beatles. But anyways, this came out in November, the super deluxe box set, and surprise was the mono pressing or cut of the album remastered by Sean McGee from the original tapes, AAA, and it does sound better.
I have the original master tapes right here.
There you go. Yeah.
I sent these. Abbey Road sent them back to me.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think they forgot to rewind them very, very well. So.
Oh my God. So I was just saying, like the new Sean McGee cut from last year sounds a little bit better than I think his cut in 2014 here with the mono box set.
I've got the 2014 mono. I decided to skip it, but I mean, what level of better does it sound? You know,
it's not that much. It's
right.
He changed the system a little bit. I think
I didn't hear a big difference. I know
it's not a big difference. Yeah, it's a little bit of a difference, not much. But he changed his transistors and something in his console, but nothing too major that made it much different than when he cut it in 2014. So
I think he added Turgiclean to it.
I think he definitely had. It was a double Turgiclean he put to the tape as well. That's for sure what happened.
And he rinsed it afterwards.
Rinsed it with Ilfitol or whatever the hell the other one was.
Ilphoto. Yeah, I used to use that with developing and making prints and photography. So.
Do you still develop? You still doing a lot of actual?
Oh God, no. I haven't done it.
I was going to say no.
30, 40 years. I mean, I did photography in high school and college, but when I became a photo agent, all my photographers did it. I was around them, but I'm like an artist wannabe. I work with artists. I love artists. I respect them. I learn a lot from them. I know a lot about it. But those who can't do teach, and those who can't do are agents for the people that can do.
Yeah.
You know.
So gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show today, our Audiophile Roundtable. Too bad Nathan, he tried to get on, but I don't know what happened if his audio wasn't working. So
Nathan, we love you.
Yeah, we love you, Nathan. That's too bad. So hopefully it will work out. And then next week we've got Kevin Gray coming on. So get your comments in there. Kevin wants a lot of questions. He told me he wants our viewers to ask some questions for him. Any question that we should ask him, Tim, that you want me to ask him?
Geez, well, it'd be interesting to know if he's got another project lined up for his, what he's doing with the Coherent, his own label. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know if he can divulge that. I don't know.
Hopefully he does. And then number of pressings for the latest one that he did. I swear he told me 1,000, but I think I don't think that
it could be. I have no idea.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll find out. All right. Well, gentlemen, have a wonderful weekend. Friday is upon us. Thank you so much, Tim. This has been awesome.
Take care.
All right.